The episode opens at the White House, where two security guards are discussing the superhuman defense training they have to undergo for their jobs. One of the guards brags that he won't have to be there, because he and his estranged stepson are taking a trip to London together. Just when the mundane conversation takes a poignant turn, two giant blue men, the Mauler twins, burst up through the street. Bullets from the White House's drone machine gun defenses bounce off of them harmlessly, as they argue about which one is the original, and which is the clone. The one thing the pair can agree on, however, is that the president must be executed for going after them. They mean to make an example out of him. After blowing away the White House's defenses with their own guns, one of the security guards fires his sidearm at them, drawing their attention, just as he's about to be killed for his heroic yet futile efforts. A team of superheroes, the Guardians of the Globe, namely Icarus, Martian Man, War Woman, the Immortal, Darkwing, Red Rush and Green Ghost, descend from the sky to save the day. Super-powered fisticuffs ensue. Darkwing nearly has to sacrifice himself to save a civilian, but is saved by the timely arrival of Omni-Man. Once all the nearby civilians and government officials are evacuated, the Guardians and Omni-Man make quick work of the Mauler twins. Meanwhile, Omni-Man's family, which include Mark and Deborah Grayson, observe his heroics on the news with bored yet appreciative disinterest. Watching him take on supervillains and save the world is clearly something they've gotten used to over the years. As his wife and son continue watching TV and getting ready for the day, Omni-Man, that is, Nolan Grayson, arrives home and is greeted warmly and intimately by Deborah, which predictably grosses out Mark. The teenager's morning gets even worse when he learns that his dad will be flying his mom off to Germany for breakfast, while he still has to attend high school like a mere mortal. Nolan assures Mark that his powers will kick in soon. Even the latest bloomers on his home planet of Viltrum got them before their 18th birthday. After Mark steps outside and watches his dad fly off with his mom, he makes his own futile attempt at flying by jumping up and down on the front porch. Unfortunately, it results in nothing more than a judgmental stare from their mail carrier. Later at school, Mark is forced to listen to his best friend, Will, talk about how hot Omni-Man is. Without realizing that he's also talking about Mark's dad, their conversation is interrupted when the pair hears one of their classmates, Amber, being aggressively propositioned by the school's resident douche, Todd. Despite Will's warning that Todd is twice his size, Mark attempts to stick up for Amber, and promptly gets his ass kicked. Amber responds by kicking Todd in the nuts, forcing him to run away. She then thanks Mark, as Will helps him up off the floor. That night, Mark puts a cap on his horrible day by finishing his shift at the local Burger Mart. While taking out the trash, he accidentally flings one of the overstuffed garbage bags into orbit, signaling that his long-awaited powers have finally arrived. Mark shares the big news at dinner that evening with his parents. Nolan seems stunned at first, but quickly snaps out of it, thanks to some prompting from Deborah, and says he'll make some time the next day for them to do some proper training. As Mark lies awake in bed that night, he thinks back on when he was younger, and his father told him where he's from. According to Nolan, Viltrum is a planet with a very similar makeup to Earth. Unlike humans, however, Viltrumites also have the powers of flight, super speed, and super strength. When Viltrumites come of age, they venture out into the galaxy to help and protect lesser developed planets. Nolan volunteered to go to Earth, where he met Deborah while saving her from a falling car. Young Mark reacts to learning that he's half Viltrumite by getting all types of excited that he'll be able to fly one day. Back in the present, Mark decides to climb out onto his roof and make a solo attempt at his first flight. After gathering his wits and taking a leap of faith, he finds himself floating above the ground, exhilarated by finally achieving his dream. He gleefully and awkwardly soars high into the air. Unfortunately, his joyous trip into the sky is interrupted when he ends up in the flight path of a passenger jet. He manages to avoid a collision, but the aircraft's jet stream sends him soaring into low orbit above Earth, causing Mark to pass out and crash back down to the ground. The impact doesn't kill him, thanks to his newfound superpowers, but it certainly doesn't feel good either. The next morning, Nolan takes his son through how to fly, by focusing on where he wants to go, and allowing the momentum he builds to carry him. Things go pretty well, until Mark tries to land, which he fails at spectacularly. Next, Nolan helps Mark improve his fighting, by making use of his ability to pivot without the need for a solid object. During their sparring match, he accidentally hits his son so hard that it knocks the air out of him. Nolan feels bad and apologizes, but also reminds his son that if he wants to be a superhero, he'll have to be prepared to take hits like that. After the pair return home, Deborah asks if Nolan might be pushing their son too hard, causing him to uncharacteristically lash out at her. He then admits that Mark having powers is something he isn't as prepared for as he thought, and that maybe their lives would be better if he'd never gotten powers at all. At school that day, Todd attempts to get revenge on Mark, who calmly dares the bully to hit him. Although the punch hurts at first, he's able to brush it off before calmly asking Todd twice to hit him again, eliciting little more than a small flinch. As his classmates look on in disbelief, Todd runs away in shame. Mark decides that he needs something else to try his powers on. That afternoon, he dons a makeshift costume, flies into the city, causing only a small amount of property damage, and finds a bank robbery being committed by two goons and a near indestructible supervillain. Mark gets knocked around a bit at first, but quickly recovers and takes the supervillain down, while also causing quite a bit more property damage. As the police begin to close in, Nolan shows up and commands his son to follow him to a nearby rooftop. He then chastises Mark, explaining that he did far more damage than what was warranted or necessary for that type of confrontation. Mark responds by demanding that his father hit him, explaining that he'll be ready to take the punch this time. When Nolan refuses, Mark's demands quickly morph into pleading insistence that he's strong enough to be a superhero, despite his father's poorly masked out, and that he wants to be just like him. After assuring his son that he truly does believe in him, Nolan takes Mark to Art Rosebaum, a tailor who makes prom dresses by day, indestructible super suits by night. As you can probably guess, Mark is all types of excited about getting his own official superhero suit. Before that can happen, however, he needs to come up with a name. That night, Mark is scolded by his mother when he leaves yet another crater in her backyard while practicing his landings. When she insists that he stop messing around and go to bed, Mark initially dares her to make him. Deborah quickly smacks that down with impressive mom authority, causing her son to bashfully admit how important becoming a superhero is to him. Deborah assures her son that even though she can't fly with him through the sky, she's still there to give him guidance and support whenever he needs it. She also reminds him that he doesn't have to live up to his father's lofty reputation, he just has to be the best Mark Grayson he can be. How sweet is that? The next day, during a mid-air game of catch, Nolan explains to his son that it's okay for him to be nervous about things. What he needs to remember is that while kids his age often think they're invincible, he actually is. As his father's statement sinks in, Mark also realizes that he's found the perfect name and rushes over to see Art. Sometime later, we see Mark standing on a construction crane decked out in his iconic blue and yellow costume. He then departs on a breathtaking flight into the Earth's upper atmosphere and back down through the city. His revelry is interrupted by multiple explosions caused by a nearby supervillain attack. Mark zips over and takes down the destructive menace before officially announcing his new name, Invincible. Elsewhere, the Guardians of the Globe all receive an emergency alert to meet back at their base. When they arrive, however, they're ambushed by Omni-Man, who brutally, and I mean brutally, slaughters them all. Even the Immortal is taken down. His last breath used to ask, "Why?" before having his head removed from his body. With the bloodied remains of his former comrades surrounding him, Omni-Man finally succumbs to exhaustion from the fight and passes out. This ends the episode titled, "It's About Time."